Good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Too Many Voices podcast. I'm your host, John J. Laughlin, and it is Saturday, May the 27th, 2023. I'd like to welcome everyone back and hope that everyone is happy, healthy, and wealthy and moving forward in life. All right, so the last podcast, I went over my ibogaine treatment for my drug addictions, and I was going to continue on in this podcast discussing psychedelic therapy in regards to alcoholism and drug addiction therapy. However, I decided to go into detail about my spiritual awakening, which happened New Year's Eve of 2019, because I know a lot of people are going through that right now, and I just felt that if I discuss what I went through, it might help some people avoid certain pitfalls and the frustration that can come with a spiritual awakening. So, my awakening in the beginning was extremely intense. Okay, I had no idea. Well, I think on a subconscious level, I knew what was going on. But yeah, it blindsided me in a way. Like spiritual awakening never really crossed my mind. And let me back up for a second. So going back to psychedelics. So before my spiritual awakening, I almost cut my finger off in a machine working on a farm in Northern California. And that was the main trigger for this awakening. And after researching spiritual awakenings, that seems pretty common. People lose function of a limb or some type of trauma triggers the awakening. And for me, before that accident happened, I was feeling lighter anyway, like a lot of the deep-seated emotional traumas that I really hadn't worked through, but I just felt lighter, not as heavy. Then the accident happened, and then, I was relapsing into alcohol. I had my left arm all wrapped up, couldn't use it, and I took a huge dose of LSD New Year's Eve 2019. And that was it. That was the catalyst right there, like just getting football kicked right through the veil. And it was amazing, except it did not stop, I started having these very profound mystical experiences. And again, spiritual awakening never went through my mind. Not for like a few months, maybe close to half a year, maybe. Yeah, I would say 6 to 7 months later. So it was intense. That's all I can say. Very intense. Amazing all the same. I mean, you're hearing the voices of your spirit guides, passed on loved ones, you name it. I was seeing orbs, which are like, I guess, spirits. And other people that have gone through a very intense awakening can testify to that. And it was interesting. In my YouTube feed, videos just started popping up about spiritual awakening and the spiritual path. So I started going down the rabbit hole. I mean, it was beautiful. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me, and it has not stopped. I met my first twin flame. Okay, my first twin flame, high-level soulmate. I am losing the twin flame label. I just had a recent experience a few months ago with another high-level soulmate / twin flame, and this catalyze yet another level of my spiritual path and awakening, it was intense, but not as intense as the first go around. So let me give you my definition of a spiritual awakening. For me, it is coming into complete union with God and yourself, your higher self. And that being said, it brings up a lot of traumas that you have not worked through from this lifetime and past lives. You start to clear away a lot of karma, which is, a lot of people are doing that by the day, If you're not willing to do the inner work, the shadow work, as it's called, on yourself, you will suffer needlessly through your spiritual awakening. You must be very disciplined to work on yourself. And it will require you to dig deep and look at things that you swept under the carpet. These festering emotional wounds that you have not dealt with that will come back to continually bite you in the ass unless you take care of it, heal, start the healing process. And that's true either way, whether you've had a spiritual awakening or not. This awakening for me just ripped me apart down to my soul's core, just like my alcoholism. I'm grateful. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. I'm grateful for everything I went through, as hellish as it was, because it forced me to dig deep and face myself and finally start to heal. And that's another primary aspect of a spiritual awakening, is your healing. Not only that, it is becoming the person that God intended you to be, to discover your true life path, your divine destiny. And for me, part of my destiny is this podcast. And going back to the shadow work, okay, the inner healing. So I first had the idea for this podcast, 3 years ago. Right? It was about a year after my awakening that, I bought all the gear, the same equipment that I am using right now. And as I started to speak into the microphone, I just could not get the words out. Like I knew this is what I wanted to do, just couldn't get it out. It's like my throat chakra was completely shut down, which that went back to early, childhood trauma. Like I wasn't really allowed to speak my truth. And when I did, I was lambasted for it. So, and I'm introverted anyway. So I really just kept to myself. I didn't speak my mind that much. And, but God had another plan. He was like, no, this is what I want you to do. So I'm doing it and I love it. But it required me to do a lot of inner healing, a lot of, making myself, not give a fuck, whatever the people think about me, what society thinks, which I never cared anyway, really. I mean, I did, but I'm the black sheep of the family. I really just, I don't care. I don't care what people think about me, their opinions. I love me, right? And that is another beautiful aspect of spiritual awakening, is learning self-love, self-empowerment, self-awareness, being conscientious of your life and why you are here on this planet and what you are here to do in this lifetime. It ain't easy. Many times through this process, after this awakening, I was brought to my knees, purging out all this stuff, traumas, especially going through the dark night of the soul. Now, the dark night of the soul is basically an ego death. St. John of the Cross wrote a poem about this. It was in the 1500s, around 1550, somewhere around there. And he just woke up one morning and I just felt, disconnected from the Holy Spirit. And that was the most disheartening thing about the dark night of the soul for me, is you feel completely cut off from source, which is an illusion. Okay? It's almost like God and your spirit guides kind of hang back for a little bit and just like, okay, we got to tear you down a little bit. You're going to be okay. You'll get through this. But there's a few more, layers, a few more layers of the onion we got to peel back. And I struggled significantly through my dark night of the soul. Again, my struggles with alcoholism and drug addiction came to the surface again. I relapsed hard this time. And again, I'm grateful for it because it forced me to really dig deeper and to heal these things. But it was not a fun process. It was not easy. And they say, other people in the spiritual community, when they talk about the dark night of the soul, they say come out of it with grace. In other words, you discover your true life path and you step onto that path with grace, I guess. And some people stay in the dark night of the soul for years. I can honestly say I'm just kind of coming out of mine, 4 years later. But during that time, the purging, and when I say purging, I mean, like, all the traumas, the unhealed wounds that you haven't dealt with just comes to the surface. I mean, I was in the fetal position for days, crying, screaming. But afterwards, I just felt great. Like, I got all that shit out of me. And I went through another serious purging this last go-round when I met this other high-level soulmate / twin flame. And I will be discussing the twin flame journey in more detail. That's probably an entire podcast in itself. That's a big can of worms. Those of you who are listening, who are on a twin flame journey, can attest to that. It's very intense, and it can be a very beautiful thing if both parties have healed enough to come into union, and hence that separation phase, which is very important. Like my first twin flame, I had to walk away. I wasn't ready, and I knew that. Again, I was still struggling with the drug addiction and the alcoholism, and I wasn't about to bring that into her life. The second go-around, I had to walk away again. Same, not that I wasn't drinking or drugging. This was more on my soulmate's end. She had some things to balance out. And but needless to say, God came in, put the kibosh on it, and I had to go away. And I still had more healing to do for sure. It brought a lot of stuff to the surface. That's why they call it your mirror soul. You feel your twins' emotions, and the telepathic communication, which me and this twin, we communicate telepathically a lot through music. It's pretty interesting. And anyhow, that's another podcast. But these are just the things that can pop up along your spiritual awakening path. But going back to being self-disciplined, when you're going through an awakening, you need to have a ritual, let's put it that way, kind of a ritual set up that you do every day, a daily practice. I think it's called sadhana, which can be yoga. For me, it's yoga, martial arts, breath work, meditation, prayer. I can't stress that enough. And staying grounded. Like, I didn't even know what being grounded was when this happened to me. I was all over the place. I was a live wire. I had no idea. All these psychic gifts were being activated. I had no idea how to control them, really how to use them. And it's like training. It really is. It goes like it's like training for your path. And unfortunately for me, like when all these gifts were activated and I relapsed, that was shut down. God was like, no, you're not ready yet. We got to hold back a little bit. Because it's very intense. And until you learn how to control these gifts, it can be very overwhelming. And this is where the meditation comes in, doing something physical. I highly recommend that for those of you that are going through this, or just went through an awakening. Get into yoga, a martial art, something like that touches on the three aspects of being a human being: body, mind, and spirit. You got to have a healthy body to have a healthy mind, and a healthy mind to have a healthy spirit. If any one of those things is out of balance or missing, then you can forget it. The whole thing is going to be off kilter, and you will struggle. Okay, you will struggle. And when it comes to your daily practice, you don't have to adhere to anybody's dogmatic approach. Okay, now don't get me wrong. There are some great spiritual leaders out there, teachers. But at the end of the day, you are your own guru. Everything you need to know is right in your heart. But it takes a lot of discipline and going within. You hear that a lot, going within. It sounds cliche now, but it's the truth. And the only way to do that is through meditation. Listening for the answers that you need to progress in your life. And you can only do that in complete quiet and isolation, just you and God. And the isolation part, so I was pretty much alone with this for 4 years. When this first happened, who do you talk to about this, right? What was happening to me, what I was experiencing, got people burned at the stake, right? So it was just me and God, but that's for a reason. That way you don't have everybody else's opinions trying to tell you who you are, how to live, what you should do with your life. Because you discover after an awakening that you are a divine sovereign being, here for a specific mission, discovering your true life purpose. And when you discover that life purpose, what you're passionate about, what your soul calls you to do, it is your duty to do that passion, engage in that passion every single day. If you like to play music, play music. If it's art, paint, draw. If you're a writer, write. Maybe you want to do a podcast. But it's very important that you work on these passions every single day. And then using your gifts to help other people, help raise the collective consciousness, the vibration of humanity as a whole. But when you're doing what you're passionate about, you're putting that energy out there to the universe. I mean, it's true, everything is connected. We are all connected on a psychic level. And so by raising your vibration, by engaging in your passions, you are helping other people. At great distances, honestly. You're helping others to awaken just by doing what you love to do. It's a very beautiful thing. One thing I discovered, too, about the awakening process, I was full of fear, shame, and guilt before my awakening, and a lot afterwards, too, because I was trying to get rid of all that fear, shame, and guilt. Fear, shame, and guilt are the lowest vibrational mentalities, consciousness that a human being can have. And I've said this in past podcasts. And if you've noticed, we live in a very fearful, shameful society. This is what the powers that be want to project onto you. Just to keep, it's all about subjugation and control. Consciousness itself got hijacked thousands of years ago by a dark occult priest class. They took God's law and flipped it upside down. That became satanic consciousness. Jesus Christ came along, trying to teach Christ consciousness of the light, teaching people that they are a divine sovereign being. You're your own autonomous collective, right? So through the awakening process, you discover this about yourself, that you are a divine sovereign being. Here, life is a beautiful thing, and it becomes more beautiful when you realize that about yourself. And you shred away all that fear, shame, and guilt. And a lot of that fear, shame, and guilt is not even your shit. This is stuff that people have projected on you your entire life without even realizing it. Parents, teachers, society, the school system. I mean, for the most part, it's one big mass brainwashing, what we are subjected to. I mean, I haven't owned a TV in 10 years. I don't watch, I don't care anything about it. I consume material that nourishes my soul and my mind. Read good books, listen to great music. I mean, if you notice, a lot of the stuff that's being projected out there through the mass media, the entertainment industry is very low vibrational stuff. Subverting sex. Sex is no longer a sacred thing. It's just something that people just freely engage in without even thinking about the consequences, really. And it's like the cool thing to do nowadays is to have multiple partners and sell your ass on the streets. I mean, just look at this woke agenda. And if this offends anybody, I don't care. I am going to rip down the woke agenda as much as I can throughout these podcasts. It is satanic consciousness. These people say that they're all about love and acceptance. At the same time, they're ripping that all apart. Tearing the American family apart. Confusing children about what gender they are. Okay, that's evil shit. Pure evil. There's no other word for it, it's evil. Satanic consciousness. And once you go through a true spiritual awakening, you see through the veil. You see the man behind the curtain pulling the strings. But after you've gone through that veil, there's no coming back. Now, there can be definitely a lot of pitfalls through an awakening process. There's a lot of good material out there on YouTube, Rumble, these platforms, and a lot of garbage as well in regard to the spiritual community, especially a lot of the New Age frou-frou stuff. This is not your New Age frou-frou spirituality channel. I'm a raw dog when it comes to talking about this material. That being said, you must engage your powers of discernment when looking at such material. Your discernment will raise to another level when engaging with people, places, things. And through an awakening, the process and discernment, you will notice that a lot of people, places, and things are going to fall away from your life because they no longer serve your highest good. I can't stress this enough either. This is something that I definitely have to be aware of for myself because I'm a very high-level empath. Very high-level empath. I'm very aware of who I've let into my energy now. After what happened to me a few months ago, dealing with some true energy vampires. Like straight up Nosferatu bloodsuckers. We've all been around people that drag you down a little bit. Bob's a bummer. Well, I won't hang out with him as much. And then you got people that just suck the life out of you. And this was my experience a few months ago with a group of individuals who went out of their way to get in the way of a divine union between myself and this twin flame that I met. Well, I met her in this lifetime. We've known each other throughout many lifetimes. But these people, every time I was around them, I'm talking draining. Like the Energizer bunnies hopping along, rolling along, like you got shot in the fucking head. Yeah, that's how it felt. No energy at all. So go after that experience, like my guard is up. And I've always been like that. I'm extremely guarded. Just from, the lifestyle that I live, the people that I dealt with throughout my life kind of trained me to be that way. So, you need to have your guard up after going through an awakening because the soul knows. Other people's souls are going to sense that you're at this higher level of consciousness. Your light is shining, and then you attract these people in that need healing. Except they don't know that, so they just try to rip you down to their level because misery loves company. Remember now, life is a journey. You're on Earth School. This is all training. Okay, this is all training for your life and your path. But I cannot stress that enough. Be very, very discerning and vigilant about who you let into your life after going through an awakening process. Now, coming back to the energy vampirism and people of low vibration. So let's say, for example, and this has happened to me, I'm sure it's happened to other people. You just go out and about, running your errands throughout the day, go to the grocery store, Home Depot, whatever it is, and then you come home just feel completely drained, right? But however, before you left, you had a lot of energy, everything was good. Well, you share every person that you come into contact with, just walking by somebody, within 6 feet, you share your auric field with that person. And so if this person is at a low vibration, low energy, and you're at high energy, well, the higher it goes to the lower, And then you feel, sucked dry and drained. And this is where it's very important that every day you do a cord cutting ceremony, cord cutting ritual. You can look that up on YouTube. There's a bunch of them, meditations, and cut the cords every single day. Take a spiritual bath. Water is a very spiritual substance. Okay, water cleanses, not just the muck and the dirt from the day, but also the spiritual grime that gets on you throughout the day from other people, places, and things. Be aware of your environment. I mean, if where you're living is not good for you, figure it out and get out of there. The job isn't good for you, it's dragging you down, leave that job. Certain people aren't good for you, don't have your highest good at heart, get the fuck out of there. And you must do this with no fucks given. Don't look back. And you can't be worried about other people's feelings in regards to that. Because you and your spiritual path and your health and your self-love and self-empowerment is what's important. Because if you are at a low vibration, disempowered, and don't love yourself, then how in the world are you going to be able to help other people if you can't even, help yourself and keep yourself self-empowered? Empower yourself. And you empower yourself by engaging in your daily spiritual practice, consuming good, material, such as, great books, podcasts, whatever the case may be, and throwing the rest out. You take what you need, get rid of the rest. And I think that's true for everything in life. You have to you have to be number one in your life. Now, some people say, oh, that's selfish. Yeah, it's selfish. It's called divinely selfish. You're being selfish in a good way. Keep yourself healthy and wealthy on all levels. And I can't stress that enough either. Don't let anyone, anything, any environment, place drag you down to that low vibrational level where you become depressed, despondent, lethargic. If you feel that way, that's your intuition, your soul telling you, okay, it's time to move. It's time to change things up a little bit, or a lot, depending on your situation. And I mean, those 5 words, I don't give a fuck, I use that a lot now. If something's not good for me, I don't give a fuck. I'm out. Straight up. Don't care. I'm here to do what God wants me to do. And God wants me to stay healthy on all levels. Because I'm God's soldier. I'm God's warrior. I'm here to do a job, a mission. And after what I've been through in my life and going through this process, I'm not going to fail God or myself or humanity. This is the attitude you have to have. Don't fail God. Don't fail yourself. Don't be afraid. Don't be a coward when it comes to stepping onto your path. And I went through that too. Cowardice is frowned upon by God. God doesn't like cowards. You got to put all your faith and trust in Him as your protector. And you do that by just surrendering. Surrender is a very important word throughout your spiritual awakening process. Any issues you have with people, place, and things, situations, surrender it to God. Surrender and accept. Accept yourself for who you truly are. Accept the situation you're in for what it is. And then surrender the rest to God. And the rest will take care of itself. Now, I had to learn that. I had to really go through some situations where I didn't have a choice but to surrender it. Especially this last go-round I was in with these people. But keep that in mind. You will have to surrender a lot throughout life. A lot of things are out of your control. The only physical control you have of anything, hold your arms out straight out in front of you. Okay, beyond the tips of your fingers, you have no control. Within that 2.5 foot space, you have physical control. See what I'm saying? You got to surrender it. Surrender it to God. Let God in the divine realm, your spirit guides, archangels, take care of the rest. And if you are spiritually strong, being of the light, doing what you're here to do, and you'll be well taken care of. Faith, surrender, trust, and acceptance. All right, I'm going to discuss spiritual warfare for a little bit, then wrap it up. So, most of us, well, the entire world right now is under spiritual attack, psychic attack. We are in a spiritual war. I can look back on my life. I was in spiritual warfare as soon as I popped out the womb. And given, knowing what I know now about myself and who I truly am in the eyes of God, it makes a lot of sense now. Once you go through an awakening and raise your consciousness to this level, this 5D consciousness that Earth is transitioning into, okay, unseen forces in the spiritual realm know this. They know who you are. Okay, they know who you are before your awakening. They definitely know afterwards. And this is where your daily practice, your daily spiritual practice, your prayers, your mantras, your protection rituals is key. It is key to do this daily. I don't care how tired you are, run down, you force yourself to do it. It is critical that you follow these guidelines. And I did a recent podcast, I think the one before the last one, about spiritual warfare and how to protect yourself. You can make up your own protection rituals, your prayers, mantras that work for you. As long as that stuff is of the light, you're going to be good. Again, you don't have to adhere to anybody's dogmatic approach to your path. Do what works for you. As long as you stay on the right side of God and the divine realm, you're going to be okay. But the spiritual warfare is real, very real, especially if you are a twin flame. And those of you that follow me on TikTok, probably seen some of my past videos where I talk about this. Especially around the new moon and full moon cycles, you want to be extremely vigilant. Especially if you know you have a group of individuals that are projecting their evil bullshit onto you, and you know this. You've pinpointed the source, you know who they are. The full moon and new moons are when these dark people, secret societies like to get together and do their little hoodoo, voodoo, black magic bullshit, right? It's amazing to me, I've said this before, how these people, they can believe in Satan, the dark forces, but they don't believe in God. Somehow they believe God does not exist. It blows my fucking mind. It's insanity. But at the end of the day, these people pay the price. Their souls are going to pay the price. They are damned. The only thing these people are doing is racking up karma and racking up God's wrath to come down upon their head. And it will happen. Especially now. The dark occult are up in their game. You got to up your game. Every day, I mean, everything matters. Body, mind, and spirit. Your diet, what you consume, as far as media. Your daily spiritual practice. It is absolutely critical that you adhere to your daily practice and be self-disciplined in all three of those areas, body, mind, spirit. You can't give an inch when it comes to your spiritual health and your protection. I'll say it again. You cannot give an inch when it comes to your spiritual health and your protection. Your physical health, mental health, spiritual health. That is what matters. I really can't stress it enough after what I've been through. And the reason I'm telling you this, because I don't want anybody else to be caught off guard as I was. But here's the thing, man. It's the best teacher's experience. Like, I was in training. I was on a mission. I didn't even know I was on the mission. You know? Very, very amazing, quite honestly. I'm very grateful for this experience. It brought me closer to God than anything else I've ever been through. I went through a complete spiritual rebirth after going through this, and just came into complete union with myself and God. Especially being a twin flame. So we all have these divine masculine, divine feminine energies. I am a divine feminine. Gender doesn't matter. Okay, this is the energies that one is a little bit greater than the other within you. And you have to balance these out. You got to be the emperor and the empress of your life. You got to learn how to be a boss, take action. And then you got to learn how to be nurturing, loving, and giving, and compassionate, and kind. And meld all that together and balance. Balance, balance. Remember that word, balance. And throughout your spiritual awakening, it's very important to stay in balance. Do what you have to do to keep yourself in balance and grounded, especially if you are going through spiritual warfare. It is no joke. Now, a big part of this podcast, obviously, I want this podcast to be educational, but I also want you, my audience, to do your own work, do your own research, think critically, go down these rabbit holes for yourself. Because if you have gone through an awakening, you will go through this at some point if you're not already. Hell, you may be under spiritual attack, psychic attack, you not even realize it. Be vigilant, protect yourself, gain knowledge, keep learning. I mean, this is the information age. Like, there are no excuses anymore for being ignorant. Okay? It's called work. No excuses, only the work. But it's up to you. I mean, nobody's going to spoon feed this to you. If you want to learn the secrets of the universe, you got to dig for yourself. You know? But the spiritual warfare is very real. And it's very intense right now. And especially if you're new to your path, your spiritual path, have gone through an awakening, start now. Start protecting yourself now every single day. Do your prayers, your mantras, protection rituals. Get your crystals. Seriously. But, like I said, you can do this research for yourself. Your spiritual baths. Protecting your chakra system, cleansing your chakras. Can't stress that enough. And in fact, I need to do more of that as well. After what I just went through. But take it upon yourselves to do the work. The spiritual path is work. But the work is well worth it. It's an intense path, it's a hard path, but it'll be the best thing you'll ever engage in. This can be the most beautiful experience of your life. I can honestly say there's nothing more beautiful than being in complete union with myself and God. All right, I think I'm going to end it here. Stay vigilant, take care of yourselves, love yourself. Most important thing is love yourself, love each other. And peace until the next one.